Supreme Court justices today expressed skepticism over whether the Obama administration can require companies with religious objections to provide contraception in their employee health care plans. During more than 90 minutes of arguments today, several justices repeatedly questioned why the Obama administration wouldn't give companies such as Hobby Lobby the same kind of accommodation offered to religious nonprofits. And several states running their own insurance exchanges reportedly giving some leeway on Obamacare's enrollment deadline. If you live in Minnesota, Maryland, or Nevada, all you have to do to avoid the Obamacare deadline and penalty is start the sign-up process by midnight on March 31st. You started, no end on when you can finish it. Well, my next guest represents the district where Hobby Lobby is headquartered and says companies should not be fined into oblivion if their religious beliefs don't align with the Obama administration. Joining us now, Congressman James Lankford, chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, member of the House Budget and Oversight Committees. He's also an ordained Baptist minister. And Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Lou. Glad to be with you.
Are you hopeful for your side's cause in listening to the skepticism expressed by the justices today?
I am, actually. The hopeful nature of it is basically just to hear the justices say, can the administration really force people to do this? And then also all their questions about RFRA, about this Religious Freedom Act. They continue to ask over and over again, can the administration just set aside some bill from Congress and just ignore that implications? And obviously the Solicitor General continue to come back and say, yes, we feel like we can. The Hobby Lobby side in Conestoga Woods continue to come back and say, no, they can't just ignore that. The big issue, as it really comes down, though, is not about contraceptives in this issue. The real big issue is, can the administration say to a business and a business owner, you can practice your faith on the weekends and at home, but you cannot practice your faith while you're at work? That becomes the critical issue here. Does all of the First Amendment apply in all places or only at certain times in certain places? And
that represents, of course, a collision of rights and powers. And sometimes it's more difficult than it might seem. Corporations also being regarded under law with the same rights as a person and a citizen. There seem to be so many issues at work here that, at least to me, I'm not clear how it will work out in the minds of the justices. I have a view, of course, about how it should, as often is the case. I have a view about how it should work out. Your thoughts?
Well, the issue is when you start about the corporations, this same court has already determined that corporations have the freedom of speech. Now to take the thing that's right next to freedom of speech in the First Amendment, say they also have the rights of freedom of religion, to say, no, they have part of that amendment, but they don't have the other part of that amendment, is a very difficult argument to be able to make. And again, nothing changed in Hobby Lobby. They're still practicing their business the same way they practice their business since it started in the garage of the Green's home. What changed was the administration and their interpretation of the Obamacare law. Remember, this is not part of the law. This is a regulation that they promulgated, and they brought that change to this business and said, we've changed our mind as administration. Now you have to change your business practice. That's what's really shifted here.
And as we've just reported, 3 states, Maryland and Minnesota and Nevada, extending the Obamacare enrollment deadline effectively by saying if you just start the process by March 31st, you're good, which is taking us in an entirely different direction again. An appellate court has questioned whether or not the Obamacare law actually authorizes subsidies to insurance companies within its language. I mean, Obamacare continues to be a monstrosity that changes form and shape almost constantly.
It does, and this administration continues to give waivers and give exceptions and change dates and deadlines that are clearly written in the statute. They understand it's not accomplishable, and so they're just moving things on the fly. They'll just to come back in the early part of March and say we're going to move deadlines till after the president's actually gone, till 2017 on some of these deadlines, and say we're going to continue just to move this. They'll move those deadlines for businesses. They'll move it for different people on non-compliant insurance policies, but they won't move it for religious exceptions. So it's just a very interesting dynamic, and people need to understand, the administration is serious about this religious exception issue. If you don't provide as a company insurance at all to your employees, provide nothing, your fine is $2,000. If you provide all insurance in every area of compliance except for these 4 abortifacient drugs that this company has a religious issue with, if you provide everything except for those 4 drugs, your fine is $36,500 per person per year. So $2,000 if you provide nothing, but if you provide everything except for those 4 drugs, it's $36,500 as a fine. So it's obvious the administration is serious about this particular regulation, and they want to make sure it's imposed.
And imposed means truly an assault on religious rights and beliefs.
It is. It is. And this company is a great company. They're off on weekends. They're very family oriented. They pay well above minimum wage for entry-level individuals. They provided great health care coverage. They agree in every single way, but they say we are a company that has faith as our ownership and our leadership, and have had from the beginning. And we want to continue to be able to practice our business principles under our faith principles as well.
And we have another company, a very large company in Walmart today, complaining about cut in funding for food stamps because it affects their top line and bottom line. It's quite a different cast, if you will, in the business world. We appreciate it. Congressman, it's always good to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. You bet. Glad to be with you.
Congressman James Lankford. A public